Kashima Shinden Jikishin Kageryu style of Kenjutsu, and I'm the head of our Slovenian dojo in Ljubljana. Welcome to Jikishinkan Slovenia's YouTube channel, and if you like our content, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. The Kashima Shinden Jikishin Kageryu school of Kenjutsu is very interesting because it consists of both the old Koryu kata but also the new kata developed by Sensei Suzuki. Today we will look at one of the new forms developed by Sensei, which is called Inazuma. This is the first real kata that we teach to our beginners, and among other things, it's a great form to practice Nagashi Uke, one of the most important defensive moves in our school. So let's have a look. Before we start with Inazuma, let's first take a look at some of its core elements and techniques. In terms of attack, our main technique will be the Kesagiri, where we cut across the body of the opponent. And in terms of defense, as I mentioned in the intro, our main technique is the Nagashi Uke, where we bring the sword back up into this position, where it defends the left side of our body against the incoming Kesagiri attack of the opponent. So it's Kesagiri and Nagashi Uke. And what's really important is to be able to make this transition from offense to defense and offense again in a really smooth and fluid way. And this part where you go from defense into offense is basically the Ryubi technique. It's a specialty of our school of Kenjutsu, where the sword behaves like the tail of a dragon, and that's what Ryubi means. And in essence, you need to be able to bring your sword as close and narrow to your body as possible, bring it back behind your body, up and attack. It's as close and narrow to your body as possible. You bring the sword back and in the middle behind your body, then up and you attack. That's a Ryubi, right? The sword snaps like the tail of a dragon. And you can practice this attack and defense either at home or in your dojo. And this transition from defense to offense. Kesagiri Nagashi Uke. Kesagiri Nagashi Uke. And smooth, and the tail of the dragon snaps. But the best way to practice, of course, is with a partner, because we practice Inazuma with a partner. A few important pieces of advice with regards to Nagashi Uke. Let's take a look at it. First of all, you need to be able to see your opponent. You want to form this window with your arms in front of you so that you can see who's in front of you, right? You want to see the outline of your arms on the edges of your sight. So you don't want your arms to cover your sight, you don't want to see them fully, but you also don't want to have them completely out of your sight. Because if you do that, your arms will be too much in the back. It's not a good position to be in. It's not safe, it's not useful, it doesn't make any sense. So the arms need to form this window in front of you, and you want to see the edges of your arms of the window on the edge of your sight. Another important piece of advice is to defend your elbow with your sword. Beginners often make the mistake of having the sword all the way back here and their elbow remains open. See? You want to put the sword in front of your elbow as much as you can. You don't want to keep your elbow open and exposed to an opponent's attack, because the attack is Kesagiri. So if you leave it like this, the Kesagiri will cut your elbow or your forearm, and that's not good. So it's like this. So keep in mind that when you perform Nagashi Uke. Now, another piece of advice is how to perform Nagashi Uke, how to come into the Nagashi Uke position. You cut Kesagiri, as we said. Now from the Kesagiri position, you will end somewhere here, because your opponent is blocking your Kesagiri, right? From here, as you are stepping back, you bring the sword down and in front of you, and from this position, you turn it, and you bring your hands back up, okay? So it's from this position where your opponent blocked the Kesagiri attack, that you move back, and as you move back, you bring the sword back down and in front of you, you turn it, you're turning it to the left side, okay? So you turn your right wrist to the left and you bring your hands and your sword back up. Okay? From here, down and in front and turn and up. Down, turning up. Okay? That's the Nagashi Uke. Let's now take a look at the kata itself. Inazuma has a total of 5 parts, and what I will try to do is show and explain you in detail every single one of those 5 parts. And I will mostly focus on the attacking side of Inazuma, because that's where the complexities and complications are, where you need to perform something extra on top of the basic Kesagiri and Nagashi Uke moves that we just practiced. Except for the 5th part of Inazuma, which is a bit different compared to the first 4, so I will show both the attacking and the defensive side of the 5th part of Inazuma. So let's start with the first one. So both you and your opponent will start from a Seiga no Kamae position, and the attacker from here always goes forward into a Hasso no Kamae position. From here you cut the Kesagiri, which your opponent blocks with his Nagashi Uke. From here, as we practiced, you move back into your own Nagashi Uke to block his incoming Kesagiri attack. And from here, you cut another Kesagiri, which you immediately follow up with a do to the other side of his body. From here, you put your sword down into a Geda no Kamae position, step back, another step back, and Seiga no Kamae. So one more time, Hasso no Kamae, Kesagiri, which is blocked, back into Nagashi Uke. You remember to block the Kesagiri in such a way that you protect your elbow, protect your forearm, and have this window in front of you with your arms, and you cut back Kesagiri and do. Geda no Kamae, 1, 2 steps back, Seiga no Kamae, 1 last time. Hasonokame, Kesagiri, Nagashiuke, Kesagiri, Do, Gedan no Kame, 2 steps back, Seigan no Kame. Now number 2 starts in the same way. So from Seigan no Kame, the attacker steps forward into Hasonokame, then Kesagiri, and Nagashiuke. From here, you bring your sword back behind your body, behind your back, and in the middle, as if you were to cut the Kesagiri again, but instead, you bring it back down into Wakikame, and from here, you step forward and you put your sword below the arm of your opponent. So it goes below his arm, below his Nagashiuke block. And what's really important is to have your hilt, your hands above your head, and to be able to see your opponent between your arms. So you again have this window in front of you. You're not looking at your opponent from here, but between your arms instead. And the sword, the hilt, is above your head. Gedan no Kame, 2 steps back, and Seigan no Kame. One more time. Hasonokame, Kesagiri, Nagashiuke. We bring the sword to the middle, then down into Wakikame, and step in under your opponent's arm, under the block. Now what's really important is to step really in. This is not really a cutting technique. You're not cutting your opponent with the top third of your sword. You're instead placing this last third of the sword under your opponent's arm, in his armpit. So you're in close, next to your opponent, and it's a close combat technique. You step in completely next to his body, you're pushing him away, blocking him, and from here you can actually perform any close combat technique, for example, with your arm. And you actually put your right leg next to his leg. So you step in so close that your legs are basically touching, and you can even push him or kick him with your knee. So you're that close in, okay? Gedan, 2 steps back, and Seigan. One last time. Hasonokame, Kesagiri, Nagashiuke. Step in, Gedan, and 2 steps back. Now an interesting aspect of this second part of Inazuma is that actually the attack in a real life, in a combat situation, doesn't look like this. Instead, what you are actually doing is you are mimicking a Kesagiri attack. You're making your opponent believe that you're cutting Kesagiri. That's why he moves back into a Nagashiuke position. And then at the last moment, you change course and you cut him, or actually go in below his arm. So what you're doing is, from Nagashiuke, you make him believe that you're cutting Kesagiri, but you change course at the last minute and go below. But this is an advanced technique. So this version we only do at advanced levels. For beginners, we practice from Bakigame. It also makes sense and it's much easier to do. But at advanced levels, we mimic Kesagiri or feint the Kesagiri, and at the last moment, go from below. Now for number 3, again, you're starting from Seiga no Kamae, forward and Asso no Kamae, and the usual Kesagiri Nagashi, and from here you keep your sword on this left side, and what you do is as you step forward, you just turn it with your wrists and you cut the forearm of your opponent or the hand of your opponent. So it's basically a kote attack. Okay, one more time. From here, you just turn your wrists, a very quick flicking move, right? Just turn it on the forearm or hand of the opponent. And from here, you slide back and you slide back in and perform a tsuki attack, a thrust. Geda no Kamae, and 2 steps back as usual, and Seiga no Kamae. One more time. Asso no Kamae, Kesagiri and Nagashi, then staying on this left side by just turning your wrist, you cut his arm, kote, slide back and in. Geda no Kamae, 2 steps back, and Seiga no Kamae. Now, with beginners, what we usually do is after kote, we slide back all the way here, we position the sword in front of our belly button, in front of hara, into a horizontal position, and from here we do tsuki. But at advanced levels, what we do is after kote, we just make a slight slide and immediately back in. You don't need to slide back too much. You don't need to waste time to kind of go into this position and slide back in. This is for beginners, and it's really useful to practice like this if you are a beginner, because then you learn how to judge the distance, how to position the sword for a tsuki attack, and how to perform tsuki properly. Because tsuki is not an easy attack. You need to wrap your wrists strongly around the sword, around the hilt, as you are performing tsuki. You anyhow do that with every cutting motion, with every attack, but here it's even more pronounced, because you need to stabilize the sword as it enters the body of the opponent. So you do this chakin shibori motion with your hands. You are squeezing the towel, right? But at advanced levels, from kote, we go back and in, right? You just create a small opening and go straight back in. So let's take a look one more time. Kesagiri Nagashi, kote, and tsuki, geda no Kamae, and back. Now let's take a look at the fourth part of Inazuma, which again is very interesting because similarly to the second part, you will trick your opponent and then defeat him by using that trick. So what happens is that again you start from Seiga no Kamae and then Hasso no Kamae as an attacker. You cut your Kesagiri and perform the Nagashi Uke. And then, as you are cutting another Kesagiri, instead of stepping all the way forward, Ayoniashi, you close your feet here. You step next to your front foot. Okay? So just here. So you cut in front of your opponent. You don't cut him, you cut in front of him. And once your sword, your Kesagiri, gets to its final position, you turn the sword and now you continue stepping forward with your right foot and cut a Kiriage under his arm. Okay? Geda no Kamae, and 2 steps back. One more time. Kesagiri, Nagashi Uke. You cut Kesagiri, but instead of cutting the opponent, you stop your foot next to your front foot. You cut in front of the opponent. You are basically occupying the space between yourself and the opponent, and you are scaring him. You are shocking him. And using this element of surprise and shock, you quickly turn your sword and continue going forward with the Kiriage. Geda no Kamae and 2 steps back. Now what's really important is that when you cut your Kesagiri in front of the opponent, and then turn your sword to cut the Kiriage, don't bring your sword all the way back here. It's useless. It doesn't make any sense. You're wasting energy, you're wasting time. It's basically a waste. You want to stop the sword here, turn it here, and continue going forward from here. Okay? So you're not doing a golf swing, right? You're not doing this. That's a waste of energy and time. And you might lose your element of surprise and shock that you caused. Instead, you stop it here. Yes, go forward from here. Okay? So one more time. Hasso no Kamae, Kesagiri, Nagashi Uke. Surprise Kesagiri turn, Kiriage. Geda no Kamae, 2 steps back, and Seiga no Kamae. And now let's take a look at the final 5th part of Inazuma, which is a bit different compared to the first 4 as I mentioned. Because in the first 4, it was always the attacking side that won the battle. But now in number 5, the defender wins the battle. So we switch around. So let me first show the attacking side because it's much easier. As always, you start from Seiga no Kamae, then go forward into Hasso no Kamae, and cut Kesagiri, and then Nagashi Uke, and then you go for your opponent's leg with an ashigiri, stepping forward and cutting right below his knee, so ashigiri, and that's it for the attacker. One more time. From Hasso no Kamae, we do Kesagiri, Nagashi Uke, and then ashigiri, and that's it. Now the defender, First of all, from the initial Seigan no Kamae position, the defender always goes back into a Waki Kamae position. And this is the same for all 5 parts of Inazuma. So whether it is number 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, the defender always does the same. From the initial Seigan no Kamae, you go back into Waki Kamae. From here, again the same for all 5 parts of Inazuma, the defender always first blocks the incoming Kesagiri with a Nagashi and then performs the Kesagiri of his own. Now what's important is that with Nagashi, when you first perform it and first pair the first Kesagiri attack from the Waki Kamae position, from here you need to turn the sword in front of your body and then bring it up here in Nagashi. So what you do is from Waki Kamae, you turn your right hand, right wrist from right to left, okay? And then up in Nagashi, okay? So let's now take a look at the other elements of the defensive side of the 5th part of Inazuma. Nagashi, Kesagiri, and then as the attacker is going for your leg with his Ashigiri attack, you step back, raise your right foot, leg, and block the attack, and then you cut kote to finish it off, and then perform a zanshin with an irimi seigan position. Okay? So one more time. From the initial Waki Kamae position, Nagashi and Kesagiri, which is the same in all 5 parts of Inazuma. And then as the Ashigiri is coming for your leg, actually it's coming for this leg, obviously because this leg is in front. You step away, you bring the sword down, and in front of you turn it, defend, and bring your right foot and leg up, okay? And from here, you just flick your wrist and go for the kata of the opponent. Now, what's really important is that from your Kesagiri, you want to step out of the Ashigiri attack, okay? You don't want to stay close. Step out as much as you can. And if you take a look at my sword in my hands, this is basically Nagashi, right? If it's not here, it's down here. It's the same technique basically. But now I'm defending Ashi instead of Kesagiri. Okay? This is Nagashi. Now I'm defending down here. So it's the same motion from the Kesagiri as I'm stepping back, bringing the sword down, and I'm turning it. But instead of performing the Nagashi by bringing it up, I'm keeping it down here and just bringing my foot, my leg up. And from here, just like in number 3, when we were cutting to the kata of the opponent from a Nagashi position, we just flick our wrist and cut the kata again, okay? So from here, it's really quick flick of wrist, okay? And irimi seigan. What I typically do is, from this position, I step 1, 2 steps back, okay? Just to make sure that I have enough distance from the opponent, because you do want to have enough distance. And from here, you cut kote in such a way that you want the front part of your sword to cut the opponent's hand. If you're too close, first of all, you're not necessarily avoiding the opponent's attack, and second of all, you don't have enough space to cut kata because you're too close in, right? And all kind of other complications arise if you're too close to him, apart from being able to defend properly against the yashigiri. So you want to step back enough so that you have distance and protection, then step in to perform kata. Okay? So let's take a look at number 5 on the defensive side one more time. Wakigame, Nagashi, Kesagiri, step back, defend, up, kote, irimi seigan, and seigan no kame. And now let's take a look at the full kata, which we performed with one of my apprentices at our dojo in Ljubljana, Slovenia. Enjoy! Inazuma, hajime! Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and see you next time.